Cool beans. Welcome to
There
Jerry
we go.
Berry's Friend-Tastic Library, the podcast where I interview everyday average people about their fantastic lives. Instead of going to regular libraries to check out books, you can come to the Friend-Tastic Library and check out people. So today, I said that right for the first time in a long time, actually. Yesterday, I messed it up completely. But today we're interviewing Cameron. He's my a friend that I know through my husband. And there's a lot of those on here, actually. And yeah, Cameron's an interesting guy. You're a software engineer, right?
Engineering
Well,
manager.
you're an engineer manager. Yeah. Okay. So you've worked up from software engineer. Now you're
Still do
hired.
development, but mostly it's less coding now than it used to be.
And that sounds way funner to me. I don't like coding. And then yeah, me and my husband both thought it'd be really cool to have you on the show because even though you look super white, you're a quarter Indian.
That's correct.
From India, Indian, not Native American, just to clarify for
Correct.
listeners that may still call Native Americans Indians. So yeah, how are you?
Not bad. Hanging in here. How about you?
Good. We always start. I got really quiet on. Oh, I think my mom is scrubbing the carpets inside. And
I can't hear anything. So it sounds
oh,
right.
really? Okay. Sometimes I can't tell if the mic's picking it up or not, but yeah. So anyways, we hear dogs barking and like people with coffee can mufflers driving past the garage all the time. But yeah, we usually start off by talking about how we met. And I think you're one of the friends that I met at my wedding, but I could be wrong.
Well, I think we met in passing once or twice before.
I can't remember.
But never like anything formal. Like you were there, like, hey, this is Chris's girlfriend, Jerri. Kind of like, hi, how's it going?
Yeah.
Stuff. But I think otherwise, yeah, it might have been at the wedding, like first time we actually like talked.
Yeah, formally hung out because that's how it was with Seabass too. He was just on yesterday, but he'll be on a week before you in real time. But yeah, that happened a lot with Chris's friends because he has a lot. But you were like one of the core four, I think, is what they call it, right? It was
Yeah, I've known
Chris, Johnny, Chris, Albert. I mean, yeah. Chris, Johnny, Cameron, Albert was the core four, right?
Yeah, I have the four horsemen. Yeah, I remember. I mean, I met Chris my freshman year of high school. We sat next to each other in science because it was alphabetical seating.
Oh, okay. Like yeah. A, B. Okay. So what is the age order? Because I know that the four of you are different. Well, I think Chris and Albert are the same age.
Like Chris is like 2, 3. Well, Chris is early December, like the 2nd or 4th.
Yeah. He's 7 to 9.
Yeah, so Albert's a month younger than him.
Yep.
And I'm like 6 months younger than him. Then Johnny's like 10 months younger than me.
So were you all in the? So Johnny wasn't a grade below you guys?
Yeah, Johnny's a grade behind us.
Okay.
But me, Chris, and Albert are on the same grade.
Okay, cool. I thought it would be cool to have Johnny on here one day to talk about weed, but I don't know if he'll do it. He doesn't. He's kind of anti-social media sometimes. So, but yeah.
He kind of, he's a very private dude. Yes.
Yes, he is. I could probably get Crystal on here though. When did Crystal come into the mix? Because I've never really asked friends about this.
Crystal was around, I want to say our junior year, but I don't think she and Johnny started dating until we'd already graduated.
Yeah, I think that's what I heard from her. I know that they didn't date until after graduation, but I didn't know when she showed up.
I really don't remember.
Yeah, it's like forever ago. But yeah, so I thought that was cool. Did you have fun at the wedding? I feel like there was too many people there to talk to them all.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I mean, you guys had a good, relatively simple setup, which is what I like. It wasn't too fancy. It was real chill, and
that's what we like around here, is pretty chill.
Yeah, I could see Chris' mom for the first time in like years and years.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah. Huh? Did you live in Soledad?
No, I lived in Gonzales.
I think Johnny did too, right?
Yeah, Johnny lived in Gonzales.
You guys are the Gonzales
lived maybe about
crew.
a mile apart.
That's funny.
Johnny lived right behind the middle school. Yeah, and the reason we all went to the same school because Soledad didn't have a high school back then.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we all got sent to the same school. That's
funny that's like, it's weird that a whole high school has been built since you guys graduated.
Yeah.
But yeah, so how did the four of you become friends in Soledad? Because was it music? Was it, I don't know.
Well, me and Chris were sitting next to each other, so we just started hanging out because I didn't know anybody else really at the time. And I was real awkward till I was like, I'm still kind of awkward, but I was real awkward till I was like 16 or 17.
Yeah, that's a running theme in Chris's friend circle for sure.
Yeah, but Chris and I started hanging out, and so he's like, "Oh, come hang out with my friends at the quad." Okay, and I get there, and then there's Albert, who I'd known since I was 11.
Oh, okay.
because when I first moved to Gonzales, like I was, I think the only white kid in my class, so it was a little bit of a transition. Like,
Yeah, probably.
well, no, it wasn't too big of a transition. Coming from King at the time, I was still one of the few white kids there, but it was largely black population in Seaside.
Okay.
And then moved to Gonzales and the Hispanic population. But Albert's nephew, who is only
Coink.
a month younger than him,
Yeah, right.
ended up
Is it
being
Coink?
like,
Is it Coink?
yeah, Coink.
Yeah. Okay.
He was the first person I hung out with in Gonzales at middle school. And so he'd come over to my house, we played Nintendo, or I'd go to his house and play Nintendo. Then like the summer between 6th and 7th grade, he came over, he called me, he's like, hey, can I come play? He's like, yeah, cool. He's like, okay, I gotta bring my uncle. I'm like, your uncle? What? I mean, I didn't grow up with like Catholic families that were huge.
Yeah.
And like you had mothers and daughters pregnant at the same time. I'd never experienced that before. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of weird, dude. And he's like, no, he's only a little bit older than me. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. And Albert shows up and he's like super shy and like he won't speak English. He only talks to Quink in Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish at the time. So it's just kind of like, well, fuck this guy. He's kind of a dick.
That's so funny because that was my first impression of Albert as well.
My first day of high school was like, oh, gee, this is Chris's buddy. Okay, I guess I'm hanging out with this guy because I don't know anybody else now.
Whenever I first met Chris, I was pregnant and I just moved to California, and he always talks about Albert, always, dude, and like almost as in like a gay relationship, which I'm cool with. Whatever, you do you.
Well, I mean, they've known each other since they were like preschool or kindergarten or something.
Yeah, like their whole lives basically. And then like, but I never met him and I'd never seen him, and I had met so many other of Chris's friends but Albert was always the best and Albert was the longest, and like, so then I just started to think he was fake, and I was like, maybe this guy's crazy, I don't know. And then I finally met Albert, and yeah, I was like, oh, he's kind of a dick. But
well, like when me and my buddy Matt, who came around, I'd known him since middle school too. He was also a year behind us. He was kind of in and out of our circle of friends, but I hung out with him more than everybody else did. We both started dating. Well, we both started dating friends. I was dating who turned out to be my wife, and he was dating his girlfriend at the time. But Albert was always like super jealous of us going off and like hanging out with girls and having a life because he was working at the liquor store in Greenfield.
Oh, I thought
so
he was
couldn't go anywhere. And like he was kind of salty about it. So goes like, he's just jealous.
Yeah, and then like I had met Johnny and Crystal before, maybe around the same time as Albert. Yeah, I think I ended up meeting Albert, and then I went to like a party with Johnny and Crystal, and I instantly liked Johnny, which tends to be like the cliche, everybody likes Johnny. And then it made sense why Albert and Crystal hang out a lot. I was like, oh, that makes sense. Okay. They're pretty much the same. Yeah. So yeah, that's how that happened. But yeah, that's interesting. So I
met Johnny just like probably playing like Foursquare or something in 6th or 7th grade. I think I was in 6th grade. He was in 5th grade, or maybe it was the year afterwards. You know, whatever we did at recess, the last year we had a playground, and yeah. And then Chris and I I found out Chris played guitar. I was just learning to play. I was taking guitar at high school freshman year.
Oh,
and
okay.
then convinced Albert to get a drum set for Christmas. He'd never played before.
I've heard word that a movie was made in high school. Were you a part of that?
If I was, I really don't remember. I know we made a couple of demo tapes.
Yeah, there was like a movie and Crystal starred in it. And
no, that wasn't me at all.
Okay.
Crystal and I didn't start hanging out until after Johnny started college.
Oh, okay.
He and Albert ended up being roomies at the dorm.
Yeah.
And Crystal was over all the time, so that's how I started hanging out with Crystal.
You all went to CSUMB, right? And it had like just opened.
Yeah. I lived off campus because Nicole and I had moved in together already.
Yeah, so did Chris.
Albert,
that's what I was gonna ask. So you and Nicole got married like in high school or like right after high school?
No, like a year after. She was 19, okay. I was 18 still.
Okay.
But it was like a year older. After we graduated.
Okay. So
we moved in together right after high school because we needed to split the rent. She needed the insurance. After we got married, she jokes she needed the insurance.
So you went to CSUMB, but none of you graduated, right?
Johnny might have. He says he did, but he doesn't actually have his diploma.
Yeah, he did not. He had like one class short, so he does not have the paperwork.
No,
today.
man, I was in my sixth year.
But you got a job offer, right? That's why you didn't finish.
Well, no, I started working in high school.
Oh, okay.
I had to take the day off work to graduate high school. But
Nerd.
no, I was
I'm kidding.
6 years in and a junior, and I had an experience in one of my history classes, and I just said, "Fuck it, I don't need this anymore."
That
And
makes
I was
sense. I
done.
almost quit about 100 times. So
Yeah, this was like, yeah, we had, I got, it was a really interesting sounding course. It was the was it social, economic, and military comparative history of the U.S. and Vietnam between 1776 and 1976, up till the
that
end of the war.
sounds
And it
hideous.
knocked out like 2 or 3 requirements. Like, okay, this is cool. And I was going through the class and I was doing all right, pulling a B or A somewhere in there. And then we had this final midterm project. And like, so I, did this like poster board, and we had to do a presentation. It was like it was some anniversary of the end of the war. So like there's a big symposium at the university, and they had all these guest speakers, and all of our stuff was gonna be on display. And like, so we had these poster boards and presentation stuff. And I don't remember what exactly it was about. Like I had all these citations from the texts we read, and I ended up getting a D on it. And two guys who did a poster and a presentation about dumpster diving, which had nothing to do with the class, got A's.
My God.
I was just like, yeah, I just don't need this anymore. This is all bullshit. This is all just this is just saying put up with this for a piece of paper. I was like, no, I'm done.
So my first real semester of college, that wasn't I had gone to like a private college. It closed. I started over at Hartnell. My first semester at Hartnell was all online because I had a baby. So
I didn't realize they were doing that back then.
well, they offered like, so I took like an English class and a history class and something else online my first semester. That's why. And it was like with those classes, it's basically always just like read this chapter and take a quiz or a test on it or write a paper about it in those classes. So that's why they allowed it. And or they would offer those like really late in the evening. So my first semester on campus, I had to do my public speaking class. And it ended similar to that, where I felt like I was trying really hard to do well in that class, and I kept not getting good grades. And it came down to the final project where you were paired with other people with similar grades to you. So of course I'm in like a group with all these kids that don't want to do work because they're not doing good, just like I'm not, but I actually try really hard and they don't. So we got assigned to different movies, and then you had to watch that movie and analyze like the language in it and then do a whole presentation on it. And it was similar where like all the public speaking people have a whole symposium and family and friends are allowed to go watch you do this presentation. And then basically the teacher was literally told us whoever my favorite is gets an A, everybody else gets a B, right? Or lower. So somehow me and this one other person in the group out of like the 4 or 5 of us just worked our asses off to make like our threefold poster thing look awesome. And we wrote everybody's part for them. And luckily they allowed us to have index cards. So we wrote everybody's part down for them so that they just had to read off the card. And we got an A because the lady liked ours the best. But that was it. It was like, no, it was completely subjective. Like it was like,
but the fact she admits that is just crazy.
It was her last semester there. So, maybe it didn't work out for her.
You bring up the online thing back then, though. That's another thing that really bothered me about CSUMB was by the time I was in my second or third year, I guess my third year there, I had already started working as a software engineer. I started off on the production floor, testing stuff, building stuff, whatever. And then one of the engineers was kind enough to mentor me a little bit and show me some of the programming aspects and the engineering aspects. And so by the time I was taking the mid to upper level programming classes, I would basically walk into the classroom, sit there, spend 10 minutes doing the work, and then just sit there and wait for class to be over. And I had a teacher come up to me. It was like my third week of the Java programming course. This guy, oh God, I can't remember. I know I looked him up once. He's passed now. His name was like Tony or something. But he comes up to me, he pulls me aside, hey, Cameron, why are you in this class? Because I cannot assess out of it. CSUMB, because they weren't fully accredited yet. They were still getting their accreditation through Fresno.
Yeah.
They weren't letting you assess out of anything based on I already have the knowledge. They made you go to class and take the exams. And so I'm sitting here doing things that I'm doing for a living. It's very beginner stuff, but I've got to show up 3 days a week, do the coursework, take tests. So he worked that deal thing where I just came in and took the test and I didn't have to come back for that class, which was real nice of him.
Well, that was nice of him. Yeah. Did you have tons of student loans after your college?
No, because it was only like $800 a semester when I went. It was a long time ago.
I got lucky because I had a baby. And so the government gives single moms a lot of money, especially if they're poor. So, and if you're going to college, you're generally poor. So I got lucky to where Hartnell was scotch free. Didn't have to pay a dime to go there.
It's free now anyway.
Yeah. And then for CSUMB, I think I have like $10,000 because I chose to live in the family housing.
Oh yeah.
If I would have lived with Chris's mom and just stayed there and driven every day to school, then I wouldn't have had any. But
yeah, my parents and grandparents helped out with the tuition, but I mean, like it was like 800. I think maybe it was $1,200 a semester when I left. But we were living off campus, so we didn't have to worry about. Well, we had to pay for that, but we didn't have to incur like a student expense.
Yeah. I got pretty lucky with that. But
we tried to get into campus housing, which was super affordable back then. I mean, this was 1998. I think it was like $500 for a 2-bedroom on campus apartment, all utilities included.
Yeah.
And it was like so great, but they kept telling us, no, we don't have any vacancies. We don't have any vacancies. We don't have any vacancies. So screw it. We got to find someplace. So we ended up getting a place on 4th Street in Monterey, like $5 out from the beach, for relatively cheap. But the day after we signed the lease for that, which was like, $800 a month, $600 a month, something like that, we got a call from CSUB Housing. Yeah, we've got an apartment available for you.
Of course. Yeah. So like the way they do it now with those apartments that are close to your house where we lived is families get priority over students, because regular single students would need like meal plans, or they'd want meal plans. They don't usually have easy transportation. They have parties. They aren't very reliable with money. So they always give priority to families.
We weren't married yet, so we weren't getting priority.
Probably. Yeah, maybe that was it. But yeah, and then at that time our rent was $14.44 for that 2-bedroom, which in California is the deal of the century, because all utilities are still included there. Internet, everything. Like you pay for nothing unless you wanted cable, and you don't need cable today. So I think even then you could
get basic cable with your internet package anyway. If you plug that TV, you're going to get 20 channels.
Yeah. So, but we didn't. Yeah, we never hooked it up. We never watched cable television. Yeah. But yeah, I remember telling people after we moved in, and they were like, "Well, shit, maybe I should apply to go to CSUMB and live here for a couple of years." And
one thing I was super jealous about too is that you guys have had cable internet out there for 25 years.
Yeah.
And I was stuck on dial-up living off campus.
Yeah, like I have a friend, actually she's my midwife, and she was my midwife. Her husband went to CSUMB for a master's program in social work, and after he graduated, she was like, shit, I don't want to leave this place because it's so cheap and we're comfortable and we have to move again. So then she applied for a master's program so they could stay in the apartment. So now she's getting a master's degree.
Yeah, I've got this guy I used to coach softball with. I don't really keep in touch with him anymore, but I coached softball with him on and off for like 7 years. He I should phrase this carefully because I don't want to give him away. He worked at the university in a capacity.
Okay.
Then due to certain outcomes, he ended up losing his job. He managed to get a job at another school, better job locally. But somehow he managed to keep that apartment. I don't know how he did it, because I still see him drive down the road from the apartment every once in a while.
I have a friend that knows a professor that lives in those apartments, and they pay like the same price we do, but their apartments are much nicer. Like they keep them nicer.
They're the ones over off Schoonover, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they keep the landscaping nicer and everything. And he said they've even there's certain professors that are, tenured, and they've requested certain things done to their lawns or whatnot, and they'll like take care of them and make them look pretty and stuff. It's very interesting how they can finagle that over there. Yeah. And I knew some professors that lived there with their kids. Just from Zoom University, you get to see like behind the curtain of the professor. And like some professors lived just like right in the same complex as me, just one street over, with like their 2 kids.
My oldest daughter, she spent her entire freshman year. She goes to Monterey High. She spent her entire freshman year online. And it turned out we found somebody with the same name in our neighborhood Facebook group was selling something. So we looked her up. Turned out that was his wife. They lived like 3 blocks that way, like exactly in a line. They have the same model house. Everything.
That's funny.
She went out for a walk one morning and she's going down the street and she knew he was there, but she didn't expect to actually run into him in the wild. And she, Charlie, is that you? Because he was out for a jog and she was just mortified that she ran to her teacher like 3 blocks from her house.
That's funny. Yeah, online schooling was not fun. Well, what you just said that she was in 9th grade. What about the younger one? What grade was she in for online school?
She was end of 4th grade and then all of 5th grade.
Yeah, it's rough, dude.
Yeah.
Are they back in person now?
Unfortunately, yeah. Basically, I don't know how true it is, but the principal at Maya, my youngest school, she's saying that there's a state law saying they won't do distance learning only for except in case of independent study.
Okay.
She's getting Maya's had 2 COVID tests in 6th grade because she keeps getting exposed. They did close 6th grade down for a week back at the start of school because there was an outbreak.
Yeah.
We kept her home for a week after Christmas break because 10% of the staff was out positive.
Cool.
Every day last week, we got an email from Monterey High saying that Charlie was in class with someone.
We haven't had any email saying Jared was in direct exposure, but we get an email every single day from Greenfield that there's positive test every day.
Yeah. So I think there's at least 3 positive tests from her PE class in the last week.
Oh my God.
And Cal OSHA will shut a business down considering it's an outbreak if the 3 people test positive in a month. But here you got 3 kids in the same classroom a week.
Yeah. Well, my thing that pissed me off, and I don't know if your school is doing this, but we recently got like like their report card or whatever. Mm-hmm. And Jared's in 2nd grade, so it's not real, but whatever. It tells us that he had 7 absences, but they weren't absences. He was required to stay home because he may have had COVID, and he did distance learning. He logged onto his computer every day to go to school, but they mark him as 7 absences on his report card.
That's weird because
I'm like, dude, if he logged on and showed up, then why is he marked as absent?
I think that's left-hand, right-hand stuff because Maya was getting notes when we kept her home for that week. Mm-hmm. Like, no, she's on independent study for the week. And they actually end up fixing, because we can check in the online portal what the absences are. And they end up fixing it. But the school was very adamant, if you're keeping your kid home because of COVID exposure, do the online thing for independent study. That way we still get funded. Yeah. Because if the kid doesn't show up to school, it's not funded.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering why they marked it as absent. It hurts everybody, really. Yeah. I don't want to have to go to court over this shit.
Truancy court.
For a truant.
So back when the first time we got the email from Charlie's school, and this was back before Christmas break, it's probably like the 2nd or 3rd week, maybe the 1st month back at school. Mm-hmm. I get home from work and I'm upstairs with laundry or something, and I see like 4 emails from the school saying your child has been exposed, your child's been exposed, child's been exposed, child's been exposed, no close contact, no close contact, no close contact, no close contact. And Nicole got in the text messages and she's downstairs talking with Charlie. Excuse me. So I come downstairs and I'm like, okay, so who do you have 4 classes with? And she's like, oh no, I already figured out it's my friend so-and-so who just texted the group chat saying she has it. Her friend that she eats lunch with every day, that she hangs out with at every break, but the school said, no, there was no close contact between your child and the infected child.
That's awesome. It's not awesome, but like, it's awesome.
Yeah. It's awesome in the 2020s. Awesome.
Did you get your kids vaccinated? We haven't gotten Jared vaccinated yet, but that's more out of laziness, to be honest with you. Not that
Charlie was like super gung-ho about it. Like she's needle phobic, and she's like, no, I'm doing it like first chance she has. So she's done and boosted, and Maya is done, but she can't get boosted till April because she's still under 12.
Yeah.
So I think it was like November is when she got her first shot. So
are the kids only getting Pfizer? Is that what I heard, right? I don't know how this ended up being a conversation about vaccines, but
I think it's just Pfizer's the only approved for kids at this point.
that's what I thought. That's what I have too. It's funny, like that's like the thing now. It's like, oh, what did you get? Oh, I got this. What did you get?
We are all a Pfizer household at this point.
Chris got Moderna, I got Pfizer, but it's not like we were searching for it. It was just whenever they email you to tell you to go get it, you go get it, and then that's what they gave us.
And we ended up just signing up. We ended up having like, back to back or the same appointment basically, because it was like, oh, it's available. I'm gonna sign us both up.
Yeah. For ours, I was the first one done like in my whole like family besides my mother-in-law and my grandma, because they were the oldest, so they were opened up first tier. And then I worked at CSUMB as a TA, so I was second tier, and I got it done in like March 2nd or something of 21. And so, excuse me, the school sent us to Montage and Marina.
And
that's where we got ours here. They did Pfizer, and then Chris's was like April 2nd or something like that. Like the second it opened up to the next tier of people, he signed up. Same with my mom and her boyfriend. But
we got ours a little early because they were basically, the rumor was there were shots sitting there and nobody was taking them because
I had heard that
group. So
Chris tried to slide in with like my grandma and his mom, because that's what they were saying. Like if you take an older person, just ask if they have extras. But whenever he took them, they didn't. So
when we signed up, I was like, so one of the weird things about my job is it's a small company, so I do multiple things.
Yeah.
IT was considered critical infrastructure. I also end up running IT because I'm the only one who does it. So I just put that down in the application.
Yeah.
And Nicole put down primary caregiver because she does take care of 2 kids.
Yeah.
And we walked into Montage. They didn't ask. They didn't check any paperwork. It was, what's your address? Okay, it matches your ID. Go get your shot.
Yep. I got to say, it was the most efficient system I'd ever seen at Montage.
Oh yeah, I've done
with the quantity of people that they had there. Like it was amazing that I was in and out in 5 minutes.
I think that's the difference between the well-funded private enterprise doing it versus the ragtag county doing it. I mean, the county's doing it, but it's just like they don't have the resources. And when I've taken the kids for the county ones, it's like there's always people cutting in line. It's like, well, they have appointments. Like there were no appointments offered for this clinic.
Yeah,
there were. No, there weren't. Here's the email. There were no appointments offered.
Yeah. Yep.
The Montage one, though, that was as efficient as it was. We had a huge hiccup because I guess some lady showed up on the wrong day. Oh. Like they were already appointments in like half an hour or so.
Yeah.
But so I guess she showed up on the wrong day, and she just started like throwing a fit in the parking lot and like swearing up a storm, and they had to get security to escort her out. I guess she called in a bomb threat.
Oh my God.
20 minutes later. So we're sitting there in the waiting room for our 15 minutes and like, no, we can't let you leave. And like every cop in Marina just swarmed in on the building.
Oh my God. There was a whole thing. This has nothing to do with COVID, but there was a whole thing whenever we were living there. They found a student. I don't know if it was a student or a professor, but they were one street down from us. And he had like a big truck parked out front of his apartment with giant flag, like Trump flags. And
white supremacist guy, right?
MAGA boy flags, and was saying that if anybody has a problem with him to come and meet him because he'll take care of them, all these signs and stuff.
Was it when they had the whole SWAT team come in and do the standoff and everything?
Yeah, a bunch of people called with concerns. So then the school sent over somebody to investigate, and they found all kinds of weapons in his apartment, which is hecka illegal on college campus.
Yeah, so, I thought you moved when that happened. I didn't realize you were still there.
Yeah, it was like right at the end, because my mom had left our house and called us and was like, oh my God, I had to turn around and go the wrong way, because it's all one ways, like in the circles or whatever. And she was like, they made me go the wrong way because they had it all shut down at that end so that they could like do all the things. And then we got an email about it like the next day. So they found a ton of like semi-automatic weapons and stuff in his apartment, which is like, whatever your gun-toting beliefs are is fine with me, but it's made very clear that this is a college campus, so no drug or weapon paraphernalia is allowed on the premises, because it's a part of like the AB 500 law or whatever colleges follow.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing as like every time they went to go inspect our apartments, we had to hide all of our weed in our car. So
the
drugs on campus.
The worst things to have on campus shouldn't be are guns, weed, or cigarettes.
Yeah. Like apparently alcohol didn't matter if you were because in those apartments everybody has to be over 21 to live. So they didn't care about alcohol as much. But yeah, anytime they did the inspections, it was very clear that there was no drugs or guns permitted. But yeah, anyways, fun stuff. So you're a software engineer manager. So does that mean you software engineered at some point before managing?
Yeah. So 2001 to like maybe 6-7 years ago, I was basically just programming, engineering, whatever.
Uh-huh.
And our business models kind of shifted from what we did, where we were working on individual stuff, to it became more collaborative and group stuff. I think that's how I transitioned into the role of kind of like team lead, and then eventually managing and creating the schedules and assigning the resources and all that stuff.
That's cool. Sounds really boring to me, but glad you
It is kind of it's fun to like make stuff, and it's fun to see other people make stuff.
Have you worked at the same job for like a really, really long time?
Since I was 17, yeah. Like I said,
shit. Okay. I thought maybe that was a different job. That's why I was asking. Okay.
Well, no, same company. So like I was making websites in high school for people, and I was making one for the realty company my mom worked for. I did a couple of them for some of her realtors that worked with her. And then one of them's like, well, hey, if you're looking for a job, call my son. So I call him up and was like, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm about to graduate high school. It's like, what skills do you have? I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Okay, you're going to the production floor. Bend resistors,
cool.
put them in. So it was like, minimum wage job, just assembling stuff, and just kind of worked my way up.
You mentioned your mom. Your mom's a realtor? I don't
She was, yeah.
That.
Yeah.
So your mom is the one that has the Indian heritage, right? Or ethnicity, nationality? I don't know the word.
Heritage, I guess. Ethnicity, I don't know.
Because she's
not nationality. She was born in Scotland.
She was, oh my gosh, this is even crazier. Okay, so your mom's, I guess, ethnicity, we would call it, would be half Indian.
Yeah, she's
half Indian. Does that mean the
Indian,
other half is Scottish?
And half Anglo, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so
crazy.
So Grandpa was born in Pilibhit. It's Uttar Pradesh province up north by Pakistan. Like,
I feel like you just made up a lot of words. Okay. You said Pilibhit and something else. Pilibhit. Okay.
So where New Delhi?
Okay.
That's the big city.
Okay.
That's like half a day's drive, which means it's like 20 miles because the road's there. I don't really know the distance. I'm just pulling it out of my ass. But, it's up by Nepal and by Pakistan.
Okay.
So he was born there before Pakistan. So he remembers when there was no Pakistan.
Yeah.
But so he was born there, and then he went and got accepted at the University of Glasgow for, I think, his second bachelor's degree. So he moved out there.
I'm geographically dumb. So where is Glasgow?
Scotland.
Okay, so that is Scotland. That's how it ended up there. Okay.
So he goes out there, and I think he was teaching while he was getting his second bachelor's, and he met my grandmother there, fell in love, got married.
So that means your mom's mom is Scottish-ish.
Yes.
Okay.
So her family came over. I think she's first or second generation Scottish, but her family came over from Ireland because they were Protestant. Okay. So they came over since Ireland was completely Catholic. This is all predates the Troubles.
Yeah.
They came over because of that, because of the problems they were having being Protestants in Ireland back in the 20s, I guess.
Yeah. So they have your mom, and then they moved to America.
No, then they moved back to India after.
Okay.
And my grandmother, this short, paler than me Scottish woman, thinks I am never seeing my family again. I am never leaving India. So she learns the language, she learns the culture, she learns the food, she starts cooking.
That's amazing.
She starts dressing in saris and everything. And then they eventually moved back to, I think, London, then to Canada, then to the United States.
So does your mom have like an accent, like a stamped accent, or
no, not at all. My grandma still has a Scottish accent. Okay. Grandpa, you can't understand him. He's still got the heavy, thick accent.
That's funny.
But grandma's accent's faded a little bit. You can still tell she gets Irish a lot, but I mean, people don't necessarily know the accents, but she always gets, it's obvious she's not American.
Wait, are your grandparents still alive?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, I think grandma just turned 80. She'll turn 81 this year.
That's awesome.
I think grandpa's like 5 or 6 years older. I can't remember how old he is.
That's really cool. So I had a question in my head and I forget it now, but that's okay. So oh, I know what I was gonna say. So I just read, I shouldn't say read. People are arguing with me about whether it's reading or listening, but I do a lot of audiobooks. So I finished a book called Honor, and it's a woman that grew up in, the author is a woman that grew up in India. Um, but it was interesting learning about Indian culture through that book. Even though it's a novel, she's writing from real life experiences, like
Right.
most people do. So then I ended up learning about like the proper words for like the language and the religion and stuff. So do you know what religion your mom's parents are?
Grandpa was he's not completely devout, but he was Hindu. He is
Okay.
like he's got he's always had like I don't remember where it is in their house now in North Carolina, but when I was growing up, they lived in San Jose, and they had a big walk-in closet, and the top shelf, like where you'd fold your sweaters or put your shoebox and
Hmm.
stuff, was a shrine with all of the deities up there and stuff.
That's really cool.
So on all the holidays and stuff, we'd go up there and he'd do the little ceremonies and everything.
That's really cool. Yeah, in the book there is a discussion over Hindu and Muslim and the stuff that happened in the 90s with Hindus killing Muslims and stuff like that. And I didn't really know that any of that stuff was going on. I probably took a class about this in high school, but I didn't pay attention.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, the whole reason Pakistan was formed is it was Muslims get out,
yeah.
go up to have your own state and just go.
Yeah.
We'll be a Hindu nationalist
Well, I
society.
think
You guys go somewhere else.
isn't that how Bangladesh ended up being a country as well?
I
Wasn't it
believe so.
over
Yeah,
religion?
I think
I
so. Yeah.
think I had a professor at Hartnell, and I'm pretty sure he was Muslim from Bangladesh. And the whole time I thought Bangladesh was a city in India. And then he told me to get out one day. He was joking. He was like, "Get out. You fail." Because I had no idea that it was his own country. But yeah, that's really cool that she was. So your grandma was the one that was Scottish. Okay. And so then how did your mom and dad meet? Because I feel like you look exactly like your dad. He's always a suggested friend on Facebook, even though I don't actually add him.
They went to high school together in San Jose.
Oh, okay, cool. So they both end up in California. But then
Yeah.
you
So
said
my
something about North Carolina. Where does
yeah.
North Carolina
So
come into play?
when Nicole was pregnant, they all decided they're going to move to North Carolina. My dad's dad was in the Navy, and that's how they landed in California in like 68 or something like that. But
Okay.
his mom was from North Carolina, and she grew up out in the mountains. Like, you ever see the movie Nell with Jodie Foster?
No.
It's like super small town. I believe that was filmed in the town she's in, or like the next town over.
That's funny.
Like, I mean, it's a dry county. You have to drive 30 minutes to go get booze. This side of the street's a county, so you don't have trash service, and you have to drive down to a drop-off site. This side of the street is city, so you actually have trash service.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Sounds like where I grew up.
she grew up out there, and I guess my parents, my dad wanted to go back, and so my grandparents were already retired, so they end up buying like lots next to each other and having houses built out there.
That's cool. I did hear that your mom was thought to be a nanny at some points because they didn't think that you were her baby. Is that true?
I don't remember that. It might be a Chris story that he got confused on. I remember being at the grocery store in Gonzales with my grandpa, and people were like, "Well, who's that dude you were with?" It's my grandpa, like, "No
Maybe
way."
that's
Dude.
what it was. Did your family ever have a conversation about like mixed races?
No, not that I
Yeah.
remember.
So whenever Jared was in preschool, someone asked if we had talked to him about our family being a mixed race family, and I was like, "No, are we?" And then I realized after recalling comments that my family had made, I was like, "Oh yeah, I guess to some people we would be considered a mixed race family." Um,
No,
but
I
I
mean,
just
we
think that's
lived
so
in
weird.
Texas for a while, so I kind of got the gist that mom was a little different than everybody else. um, but no, and especially I think being a military family, my dad was in the army for the first 10 years of my life. I think it just was a little more common because
Yeah.
especially in Germany, it's just common. You'll see a black soldier with a white German wife. You'll see white dudes with Korean wives.
Yeah.
It's just you see it all the time.
Yeah. It's crazy. I grew up in, because you were talking about a small town, that your your dad's mom lived in? Was that who it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, I Googled it recently. In the town of Elizabeth, Pennsylvania, that I grew up in, outside of Pittsburgh. It has a population of like 1,400 people. And I Googled it, and Greenfield has 17,000, and Soledad has 25.
People now, Jesus.
Yeah, and Soledad has like 25,000, I think. So it's pretty crazy to think about how small that, but it's all very spread out there, so it doesn't feel small, I guess.
Well, yeah,
I feel like
farm country
here,
out there, right?
yeah, because I feel like here we're all very close together in Greenfield, and it's kind of unfathomable to think that they fit 17,000 people in this town. In Elizabeth, PA, it's like, yeah, you have like huge plots of land. Like your neighbors are quite a bit away, like at least in some parts. I remember after our house had like burned down, we moved into a house closer to the middle school, and that was more like a normal suburban town where the houses are closer and they all kind of look the same. But yeah, they're just all really spread out there.
I just looked up my dad's mom's town, Robbinsville, North Carolina. Population is 620 at the 2010 census. It's the county seat of Graham County. Graham County's population is 8,861.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
The town of Robbinsville is 427 acres.
That's like a small farm field here in California.
This is a small hick town out in the mountains. It's like my grandma, when she was still alive, when we go visit my parents in North Carolina, she came down, she brought her friend Larry, who was like a moonshiner. Like legit, he brought moonshine with him.
My dad had family connections for moonshine because he was from South Carolina.
We're in South Carolina.
My dad was raised in Hartsville, South Carolina, which is another small podunk town. So
yeah, my dad's dad was just from across the border from North Carolina to South Carolina in Dillon County.
Oh, interesting.
So I spent summers out between North Carolina and South Carolina.
Almost every summer we went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or we went to Ocean City, Maryland. Because Ocean City, Maryland is only like 6-hour drive from Pittsburgh. I think Myrtle Beach is closer to 8 if you don't stop. Like if you don't have kids with you, you can get there in 8 hours. So it took quite a bit longer to get all of my dad's kids in the car and get us going. But yeah, he had a lot of kids. Do you have siblings?
I do not.
Oh, you're a lonely only. Okay. What about Nicole? Does she have siblings?
No.
Oh, how about that? So your kids probably are just like the favorites of all the favorites.
Yeah, they're the only kids in the family.
Yeah, that's crazy because I have like such a large family, and even though Chris didn't have a bunch of siblings, he has like a lot of cousins and stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just they're like, oh yay, another baby, right? So like your baby only gets to be the baby for like a little bit before another one comes.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I remember going to like all these birthday parties for like cousins and nephews, and like it's like, yeah, it was like always an event.
Yeah. And like you were saying with Coink and Albert, that's how my family was. My oldest brother is you're in Chris's age, so he's 42. He's gonna turn 42, I think, in February. Maybe 43. I don't remember. Anyways, and then my youngest sister is 17. She'll be 18 this year. And so my brother's oldest son is 23 maybe. So, and then I have another niece that's 18 or 19. So she's older than her aunt, technically. Yeah, like my nephew who was on this show, he's older than his aunt as well. Like it's very interesting.
That still baffles me. Like I just like
and I think I think my brother, because my brother's had 2 wives. One of his wives was pregnant at the same time that my stepmom was with my little sister. And then I think because I know my one niece is 18. So yeah, I think there might have been like 2 siblings that had pregnant wives at the same time as my stepmom.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's super weird. Like it took me to moving from that place to realize that that's not as normal as people think it is, that I thought it was, I guess. But yeah, that happened a lot. So moving to California from Podunk, Pennsylvania, I found out that a lot of things weren't normal. I don't know if that happens to everybody or just me, whatever. How did you and Nicole meet? Because you didn't go to high school together.
So my buddy Matt got a job at the Baskin Robbins in Salinas, and we were living. We both lived in Gonzales at the time, and Nicole used to hang out at the bowling alley across the street from Baskin Robbins with her friend.
Oh, okay.
And they'd go over to Baskin Robbins every once in a while. And so Matt and Nicole's friend started dating. And Matt was like, you got to meet Cameron. He plays guitar. He's got a 65 Impala. It's not even dropped. It's stock height. You got to hang out. So I was on the phone with my girlfriend at the time. My dad knocks on the door and says, hey, you got visitors. I go out there and they had just dropped her off on my porch and took off.
Wow. With your girlfriend there?
Oh, no, she's on the phone.
Oh, she's on the phone. Okay, cool.
And so, yeah. And then we just talked to Nicole for a while, and then like she came by again, and yeah, we just started hanging out.
That's crazy. And then you guys just like got married at a park or something, right? Like real quick.
Yeah. We ran out of park in Monterey. We had local market owner come by, do some tri-tips for us, and had cooler full of beverages, and that was pretty much it.
I think everybody was salty that they didn't get invited to the wedding. So
I mean, there were like 20 people there, and like most of them were late.
And there's like no proposal or anything. You guys were like, oh, I'll just go get married.
Pretty much, yeah.
Crazy. That's pretty cool though. But that's crazy. It's like an elopement almost.
Almost, it was somewhat planned at least.
Yeah. Chris was and then I remember Chris saying, I don't remember if it was you that said it or somebody else at the bachelor party, but he was saying that one of you was like, man, you were smart to wait until we all had money to throw you a good bachelor party.
Yeah, I think that was me. Yeah.
Because I don't think like, I think Crystal had told me that her and Johnny's parties were on the same night, but then they ended up converging and they were basically just bopping around like Salinas or Monterey or something. Yeah. And then, well, Albert, there's still time, I guess.
Find a nice lawyer someday, right?
Yeah, he might. Maybe in a nursing home or something later. There's still time. There's still time.
You're not that much younger than us. Knock it off.
I just imagine that, he might be that old before it happens. I don't know. Poor Albert. But there's the crappy cars. Did you hear that one? I
did hear that.
Yeah. They're all around here. They're really cool. So but yeah, I was jealous of Chris's friends having money because I don't have any friends that have money. So my bachelorette party was pretty subpar. But it's fine. I'll just hold it against him forever. But yeah, so then I was wondering if it was weird that you weren't in the wedding. I've been wondering that and just never asked you.
No.
Because at the time, at the time, I didn't even really know you. And then Crystal was mad that I didn't know you. Like she was mad at Chris. That I didn't even know you. Because I think Crystal was the one that asked. She was like, well, Albert's there, Johnny's there, I'm there. She's like, where's Cameron? And I was like, who's Cameron? He was like, what? I
mean, Chris and I are good friends. We've known each other a long time, but I'm like, I don't see him every day. I don't see him every week. I see him a couple times a year. It's like, no, I didn't feel like weird at all about it. It was like totally cool. Well, I was kind of surprised when
I'm glad
when Johnny and Crystal had me as part of the wedding. I was like super surprised because like I didn't see them all the time either. I mean, yeah, that was surprising too.
Yeah.
Or surprising, I guess. But no, it was fine. I didn't mind. It was, sat down, had a couple beers, had some food, watched you guys. It was a good time.
Johnny and Crystal just passed their it was like right before COVID. I think it was in 2019. They passed their like 10-year wedding anniversary and their 20-year together anniversary.
Yeah.
But they didn't throw a party.
With Maya when we went to their wedding. Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
How long have you and Nicole been married now?
We'll be 23 years in June.
Great day. Cool. Isn't 25 like is that the golden one?
I don't know. We don't really keep track anymore.
I don't know either, to be honest with you. So whenever you were going to, I'm just going to ask random questions now. Whenever you were going to CSUMB, was it for software engineering? Was that like a thing back then?
They didn't have computer science. It was called telecommunications, multimedia, and applied computing.
That's a really long name. Okay.
Glad so you actually picked a track of like programming or IT or design. Like Johnny and I were the same major, but he was going for the graphic design emphasis.
Okay. That's crazy. Why did you pick CSUMB? It seems so random.
It was close and it was cheap.
Oh, yeah.
You have to move.
I think that's still the reason people go there.
Had a job, had a girlfriend. It's like, it's just stay here.
Why move? Did Nicole end up going to college or no?
She bounced around NPC for a little while, but that was about it.
Okay, cool. She's very crafty. That should be a college major, I feel like.
Associates and like being crafty. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I had questions. Somebody asked 2 questions about school on social medias, but one of them's a joke, and I wanted to, it's kind of a joke, but somebody asked, what's your go-to for a quick bite? And I thought that was funny. So
cheese and crackers, I guess. Depends what's in the fridge.
But they spelled bites like BYT.
Oh, I get you.
Yeah, no, you get it. Yeah, fucking nerds. But yeah. Oh, that was the other thing too with the bachelor party. I just kept picturing you and Chris and all of his nerd friends at a bachelor party being like cool, I guess, for a weekend. Like
it was just the same thing as hanging around the house. It was just a nicer house, or I shouldn't say nicer house, bigger house with a beach.
I just kept picturing like a bunch of like awkward nerds hanging out at a bachelor party besides like Rick, because Rick is used to partying, but he's also an awkward nerd. He's just used to partying because he lives in San Francisco.
Like I spent my mornings every morning. I get up, have a big mug of coffee. I still smoked back then, so I go sit out on the beach, pack of cigarettes, a mug of coffee, and watch all the idiots get stuck in the sand on the beach.
And Chris kept sending me pictures of people getting stuck on the beach.
I think I watched like 7 in an hour or more, and that was like the highlight of the thing. Was everybody else was sleeping, I'm sitting there watching these cars get stuck.
But yeah, Chris was sending pictures the whole weekend, and I'm like, you're supposed to be on a bachelor party. Like, is nothing else happening right now? Like, but yeah, it's just a bunch of awkward dudes hanging out.
It was pretty much just sitting around waiting to go out to have dinner and drinks. Is pretty much it. Enjoying the beach, enjoying the weather.
The other question that somebody asked, which was like a real question, not a joke question, but because they had worded it in a way of I always keep like the questions anonymous, so they did not know if you were still in college or whatever. So they had asked like if you're nervous about finding a job if you're still in college, if you're not in college, which you're not, what was the transition from college to work like? I feel like we already covered this, but
yeah, there wasn't really, I mean, I was doing both at the same time, so
yeah, so like you weren't nervous at all during college of like not getting a job. You were like, no, I'm good. Why did you keep going to school if you had already had the job?
Because there's the family pressure to finish college, and wanted to do it for myself, and I decided it wasn't worth it.
Okay. Did you move up in your job from your schooling?
Very little that I learned at school that I ended up applying at work.
Oh, I feel that. I didn't apply anything that I learned at school to my current job.
The program really wasn't good. Seeing what CSUMB does now for computer science, or what CSU does in general, like I just hired a kid straight out of CSU Fresno back in August, and like his demo projects that he did for his graduation were like way better than anything CSUMB had to offer back then. And I think that's just more of, the school's established now, but also I think the CSU system's realizing what's more
needed.
It's getting up to speed on what computers actually do now. They're not just Apple IIe's or something. They actually understand, oh, this is real. People are still doing this.
Yeah. I heard a story as well, and I don't know if you were the one that told me this. I feel like you were the one that said this one night. Well, maybe while we were drinking at the vaccination party, that whenever I think you said while you guys were in college, you sent Johnny an email about somebody hacking into his computer or something, and that he had to send you a password, and he did.
Oh, back in high school, yeah.
Okay.
Social engineering at its finest.
Yeah.
He knows about it too, so it's not like I can't talk about it.
But like I think about that all the time now, because they're getting very the hackers are getting very smart with their like messaging systems, right? Like I'll get them constantly now from people like Facebook friends, and the message will be like, oh my god, did you know this video of you was up online? And you have to click the link. Like, and I'm like, this would work on people. Like, I know about these things, so I don't click on them, and I just reply with, you were hacked, bro, sorry. But like people would really click on those. And then I had someone text me, and sent me like a link or like something that I had to download or something like that. And in the text it said like, if you don't hand over all of your bank account information immediately, I'm going to post all this stuff on like online. And I was
It's
just
like
like,
that episode of
okay,
Black
bro,
Mirror.
post it. Like whatever you have, I probably look really good in them. Like go ahead and post it.
What's crazy now is seeing some of the phishing attacks that we're getting at work. It's they're looking up the company name, realizing that your website is hosted on this platform. So it's coming as, it's not like this is your website company.
Yeah.
This is XYZ company asking for a security prompt. It's getting sophisticated at that point.
It's very creepy. We've at work, we've had I don't understand all of it, but the guy that I work with calls it ransomware.
Mm-hmm.
And he said that it's been our whole system has been locked down because it's either tried to come through the connection with the printers or the connection with the smart TVs. With them being connected to our Wi-Fi, and then somehow they can get into like our system from there. So I don't really know. I don't understand all of it, but I know that there was a time whenever I first started where nobody could print. So then we called like Monterey computers, and they were like, "Oh, we had a red flag that somebody tried to get into your system through your printer Wi-Fi connection." So we had to close the circuit. So then we had to wait for them to resolve that. But I don't know what any of that means.
We keep our Wi-Fi is a completely separate network, and it only goes to the outside world. It doesn't connect to anything on our internal network.
Weird. Yeah, I don't know how any of that works. It's just crazy to me that this is like the life we live in. And then my thing is like, why are you trying to hack an ad company? You can't get anything. Like there's no money like that you can get access to. There's no product. Like I don't know what they're doing it for.
Well, they think they can get the money. I mean, that's the whole idea behind ransomware is we're going to hold your business hostage until you pay us.
I guess maybe. Well.
And the biggest problem is, it's like you said, the TVs. You've got these cheap disposable electronics that no engineering security work goes into.
Yeah.
I mean, the Internet of Things is scary. I don't want my fridge to have Wi-Fi because I don't trust the engineer who put that together. Like, I mean,
that's so funny because Chris just got a brand new Samsung washer and dryer, and it like tells his phone whenever it's done. And he's looking to get a fridge that's like that. Apparently they sell fridges that you can like lock with your phone. But yeah, I see. So one of the questions that I had for you, and I see you post this all the time on Facebook about the Facebook trends where you have to answer questions about yourself.
Mm-hmm. And
you're always like, don't do this. This is how people find out like your passwords. But I was wondering how that works.
So
where it's like, I want to learn a little bit about you. How many kids do you have? Like whatever, right?
So those are all password vectors. Or if they're not, okay, you've got to have a complicated password, but those are password recovery questions. What's the name of your first child?
Okay. Or like the middle school you went to.
What was the name of your high school? What was your high school mascot? So if I do something like the high school mascot and your profile picture is you wearing your high school football jersey, that's a good chance it's one of your password recovery questions. Mm-hmm. Or you've got things people through no fault of their own do not make good decisions when it comes to security. Like when my parents got their first alarm system at the house in Gonzales, the security code was the first month, the first digit of the month of everybody's birthday.
Weird. Okay.
So they pick habits, things that are familiar to them. And if I know enough of that, I can potentially extract. I mean, it's not super easy, but it's possible to extract information like that. Like, think if you really tried, like, I mean, you could maybe figure out the basis of Chris's passwords because you know him so well.
Oh yeah, I mean, I already know them, but I've hacked into his shit before. I knew all of his passwords because I'm just a crazy woman. But
it's stuff like personal information like that can give you away. Like, like the whole thing, like, what's your porn star name? Well, now I know where you grew up, and I know.
Oh, it is always like the street that you grew up on, your dog and your dog's name. Yeah.
So password.
That's genius, though, that they made those, right?
Yeah, but I can't tell you how many times, like, doing IT stuff or like helping people out with computers, how many people just give me their password to log in their computer, and it's like, it's the dog's name.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so
was it like one of this? I can't remember which Marvel movie it was, but Happy Hogan from the Marvel universe. Somebody asks for his password to get into his phone, and he's like, "Oh, it's password." And they're like, "No, what is it?" He's like, "No, it's just the word password." And he's like, "You're head of security," and he's like, "I'm sorry, I don't know." Like.
But then, like, okay, so if I know you use your dog's password for your computer, which doesn't have any complexity requirements, but your bank tells me, oh, it's got between 8 and 13 characters, has to have a number.
It's like your dog with
What's
the
your birthday?
numbers at the end.
Your dog name, yeah, your dog's name with your birthday date, something like that. It's just little things like that people can put together.
Yeah, that's funny. I always have random shit for my passwords that definitely don't tie into anything else important to me, but I never thought of the recovery questions. I guess I feel like nowadays, though, with a lot of the stuff, they're getting really good about emailing or texting you to notify that
Yes.
somebody has logged in as you, which has saved us a lot. Chris actually got hacked through Ticketmaster before COVID, and I think we could even talk to you about going to this. Before COVID, there was like the Hella Mega Tour with Fall Out Boy, Green Day, and Weezer.
Yeah.
So he bought, like, he had 4 tickets because it was one of those things where it was like, he knew that if he bought 4, we could find more people to go with us. And it was just this really big, awesome concert that was going to happen. And if you had like a certain Chase Visa card or whatever, you got early access and they were cheaper. So we buy 4, and then we had made plans for other people to go with us, and they were all just sitting in his Ticketmaster like app, right? And then he said that he woke up to his phone going off a million times with emails. All these emails were coming in, and it was because they had hacked his Ticketmaster account, transferred the tickets to themselves. And since Ticketmaster sends you emails to confirm that these things happen, they then flooded his email so that he couldn't find out it was happening. But luckily, he did figure it out because Chris is pretty smart. So, and luckily Ticketmaster is awesome, and they fixed it, and we got all of our original tickets back. I mean, it sucks because COVID happened and we didn't get to go anyways, but it was just crazy that they're smart enough to do that now.
Yeah.
Like, not only were they smart enough to steal the tickets to start with, but then they were smart enough to like try to cover their tracks.
Yeah. But see, the password recovery, like that's the biggest problem, because it's going to be stupid things like that. But what's great now is the 2-factor authentication, where you have to put in your password and they'll send you a text message with a code. So you have to know something and you have to have something.
Yeah.
And that's great. Like I was super stoked when we bought the house. The mortgage got sold the first month we had it. Of course, it always happens.
Yeah.
But my mortgage, the new mortgage required me to set 2-factor authentication in order to log in.
That's good. That's really good. I should ask my mom if she has to do that with our mortgage now. Anyways, there was another one too. Oh, did you hear about, so during COVID, during quarantine, like initial lockdown in March of 2020, I watched a lot of television. And I watched the documentary about the kids that broke Twitter. Did you hear about this?
No.
Apparently, because I'm assuming you don't have Twitter, because I don't have Twitter.
I do. I love it for baseball stuff, like all the baseball news. Like, yeah, I'm only on it from like March to October, but
I don't really understand it, and I don't know a lot of people that have it or really use it to its fullest potential. So a lot of people didn't know that this happened, but yeah, this kid, and I think it was like right before COVID happened, like right before COVID, Twitter completely shut down for the day because every single celebrity's Twitter account was hacked. And nobody understood how that happened or why. And it was literal teenagers, like they were teenagers. And they did the whole documentary on it. It's on Hulu, I want to say. There's a New York Times series. So New York Times has an episode on the Britney Spears trials. They have the episode on the kid that broke Twitter. They have one on COVID in New York whenever it first happened, all that stuff. They have a lot of interesting documentaries. And they said basically the kids they were all looking for Bitcoin. That's all they were doing. And they had been doing stupid shit with Bitcoin or like selling usernames on the black market forever. And then finally they were like, oh, if we can hack into Twitter, then we can get everybody's Bitcoin. And so, because they're kids, they're dumb. That's all they think of. And then so they ended up calling a lady, and she gave away enough information as like a front desk person of Twitter for them to hack her account. Once they hacked her account, they can get enough information to get into like the Twitter, like the behind the scenes Twitter, to where they had every single username, every single one. So then they were selling them all on the black market for money. And then once they sold the celebrity's username to somebody on the black market, then they would also post on the celebrity's Twitter account, click this link and I'll buy your Bitcoin. And that's what they did. But like the documentary was like, these fucking teenagers just wanted Bitcoin and usernames. But like the fact that teenagers could break into like the Twitterverse and post whatever they wanted, like is just crazy. Like Trump almost started a war with like the guy from Korea over Twitter. And these kids get access to the whole Twitter world and all they want is Bitcoin. Like it's just crazy to me. The whole thing was like insane. But yeah, I don't know. Does your job ever look for teenagers like that for hacking purposes?
No, we're not really that kind of exposure, and we make devices.
Okay.
They're generally behind firewalls and stuff on the open internet, but we've gotten more into security, but we've got tools that we can do to do scans and stuff like that to make sure we're not super vulnerable for stuff.
So if you guys actually build devices, do you know anything about, I'm sorry, I'll end it soon. It's getting close to time. But do you guys do any like 3D printing or anything like that?
No, we don't have a 3D printer yet. We do a lot of design though, and we will have things not 3D print. It's like CNC milled for us, or SLA. I forget what it's called, but it's basically plastic molding.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
Yeah, we've been talking about getting 3D printer for a while, but it just hasn't happened yet.
They're expensive. Well, good ones are expensive.
Yeah.
Like I can get a 3D printer for like a couple $100, but it won't be like professional quality.
We're looking at is kind of the opposite. Looking for a 3D scanner. So we've got a mechanical engineer.
Scan a 3D object?
Yeah. So like it would be like lasers coming down, like, you know, measuring down to like micrometers, like every protrusion of an object.
That's crazy.
One thing sometimes we have to make things that like mount onto somebody else's stuff. If they don't have the drawings for us, the mechanical drawings, we've got to have somebody that measure all the stuff like little tools.
Yeah. Okay.
And if he makes any mistake, it's back to the drawing board. We got to start over. But yeah, if we get a 3D scanner, like, so like if we were making something to mount onto like, you know, an existing telephone, like a desk phone, like something to stick on there, we can just scan it and then you'd have a 3D image of it with all the dimensions.
So those don't exist yet, or they're just not?
They do.
Affordable?
We're just looking. That would be more practical for us than a 3D printer.
Okay. I did a couple internships at Hartnell where we had to like use, I forget the free software to create 3D images. It's something CAD, I feel like, but it's just on the internet. You can just go to the website and use it for free anytime. And you can download all of the things that you design in any format to put into 3D printers. But it was really cool to like create a 3D object and then watch it get printed like on a machine. It was crazy. But we did stuff for like ag companies where we had to like create weird seed sampling things, and they would never use that for the actual purpose, but we were basically just building models for them so they could test it, and then they would send it off to like whatever professional production company. But yeah, we did that for like a raspberry picker as well, that they could hang around their neck and like hold the clamshells. That was pretty trippy. But
yeah, the whole design, the idea that's you build an easy design to make sure it's going to work functionally, and then you send it off somewhere to have a better quality.
Yeah. And I cannot remember the website that you can do that for free on, but I know that that's definitely a needed skill these days. Whenever I was doing the internship, there was a lot of people looking for students that could use those softwares really well to create the 3D printed thing, so that they wouldn't have to hire like college interns to do it for them anymore. They would just have like a regular guy at work all the time. But yeah, fun stuff. Anywho, do you have a favorite spice that you go to all the time?
Paprika is kind of my go-to, but lately I've been using a lot of oh man, I can't remember. Sumac. I've been sneaking sumac.
I knew you would give amazing answers to that question. I asked that question on almost every episode. I don't know how it started exactly, but somebody asked on the social media questions what their favorite spice and what their favorite Spice Girl was. And every single person that I've asked has said cinnamon. So I love that you said paprika.
I'm not a big fan of cinnamon.
So you said paprika, and what was the other one? Sumac. Okay.
Sumac, yeah.
That's like a tree, right? So
it's a Middle Eastern spice. It's really it's almost citrusy.
Okay.
It brings like a nice bright citrus kind of feel to anything.
Do you have a favorite Spice Girl, or were they just not in your realm of music at all?
They were not in my realm of music at all, but I did find Jerry Halliwell quite attractive when I was like 16.
That's my name. That's all I own. That's all I know about the Spice Girls is that there's a Jerry Spice Girl.
I was
Because
married to a soccer player. That's all I know.
growing up, there were no girls named Jerry. They were always Geraldine, Geraldine. So knowing there was a Jerry in the world that was famous meant a lot to me. And then what's the other ones that I usually ask? Oh, do you have a Winnie the Pooh character that you identify with?
Yes, because back in the olden days of the internet when it was all text, I read a story, I believe it was called The Day Pooh Went Apeshit, where Pooh murdered everyone in the woods. And yes,
It's
sorry,
that one, that specific
resonates with me.
version. Yeah, that specific version of Pooh. I love that. I always say Chris is like Winnie the Pooh. He's just like a simple bear. Nothing ever bugs him. He's just happy if he has his honey. He'll go see rabbits sometimes. Like,
But he
that's all
wears
he
pants
needs.
at least.
Well, sometimes quarantine did change that. He's very accepting of going places in his boxers where he shouldn't, in my opinion. But whatever. Whatever. Yeah. I signed up for this, I guess. But yeah, have you guys watched Encanto yet?
No, it's on our list to maybe watch tonight after dinner.
Yeah, I know you don't have like littles, so I figured that one probably didn't make it. Do you guys
Well,
keep
the
up
kids
with
have
all
already
the
both seen it, but we haven't seen it yet. And I figure we can all sit down and watch as a family tonight, maybe.
It's a super good one. Super duper good one. Do you guys keep up with the Marvel verse?
No, I feel like I missed so many of them that like I don't understand any of these characters. I don't know the inside jokes. And I feel like if I watched it, I would just think like, okay, that was a cool action weed. So I'd be like, but you missed the 7,000 secret subtext.
Easter eggs, yeah.
Like
So-
when WandaVision came out, I had no idea what the hell it is. I have not seen it. I had no idea what the premise was. I don't know where it came from. Nothing.
So we took me and Chris went and saw the brand new Spider-Man movie that came out that everybody's freaking out on. We saw that like the first day it came out. And then we just took one of my friends the other day to watch it in Soledad. There's a new Soledad theater. It finally opened. So
by Foodscope.
yeah, it's pretty nice. They don't have recliners though. I don't know who builds a new theater and doesn't put recliners in, but whatever, I guess. It's Soledad, so it'll do.
Well, they were talking about that theater when we moved out there in 2005.
Oh yeah, Chris said it's been a rumor since the 90s, so they finally did it. But we go and my friend's like, oh yeah, I'll go see a new Spider-Man movie. That sounds cool. So we get there, he watches it, we sit for all the after credit scenes, and then we're walking to the parking lot. I'm like, did you like it? And he's like, yeah, but I gotta be honest, I did not know that there was a new Spider-Man, right? Like he thought that Tobey Maguire was still making Spider-Man movies. And then I was like, oh my God, are you serious? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, well, let me tell you, there's like a whole nother Spider-Man that you don't even know about that came between Tobey Maguire and this one. He's like, really? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, so is this like the debut of this new Spider-Man? And I was like, no, dude, he's been in like 5 Marvel movies. This guy isn't even new anymore.
I think the last comic book movie I saw was the Harley Quinn Birds of Prey one.
Oh, okay. What'd you think of that one?
I loved it. That was great.
Me
We took the kids to go
too.
see it in the theater.
I liked it too. A lot of people hated it. I'm not a big comic book purist though. I'm not like, ooh, this isn't like the comic books.
No, I mean, I used to read graphic novels and comics as a kid, but like I haven't read them in years. And yeah, I'm honestly over the whole superhero thing, like Iron Man and all that shit. I'm just like, okay, great. Yeah, you enjoy it. It's great. That's your thing. I'm over it.
It is a bit much. My sister just talked to me the other day and was like, and I was like, hey, did you see the new Spider-Man? And she was like, no, because I didn't see any of like the new Spider-Mans, right? There's like 3 that he has on his own. And she was like, and I'm going through all the Marvel movies right now. And I was like, oh, all 22, huh? And she's like, no, Jerri, there's 27 now. And I was like, oh shit, I forgot.
Well, like the old X-Men ones even count now, or are those
it is
separate?
pretty extensive. No, if you want to watch the list that's released on like the nerd websites, the original 22 did not include X-Men, and some people consider the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton one, but I do not. I never watched it. So yeah, I guess it would be like 21 movies then. But yeah, it goes from the very first Iron Man all the way to like all the Iron Mans and then all the new
I guess that's where the
ones.
current universe started. Then it was with that one.
Yeah, and so some people think that includes the Edward Norton Incredible Hulk, and others don't. I don't like that movie, so I don't include it in there. And they
I
don't
liked
really ever
that
touch
one. I
bases
really
on it.
did not like the second one with the other guy.
I don't know who the other guy was.
I think there's a second Hulk movie. I don't know. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I never really liked him, and I feel like you don't need it. Like everybody knows who the Hulk is. You don't need it to like keep up with the universe.
I'd
So.
rather have like 27 GI Joe movies. Like, let's get the real backstory of Major Blood.
Are you into all the Star Wars stuff though? Like,
I think we kind of got burned out on it after with this current trilogy. The trilogy just finished up.
yeah.
Rogue One was one of my favorite movies because you knew everybody was going to die. I mean, you knew it was a suicide mission.
Yeah.
I loved how dark it was. It was perfect. That was my favorite Star Wars movie.
I am enjoying the backstories more than the originals. I think that they were amazing for their time. They were amazing for what they did for cinematic stuff, but I just can't watch them. I don't think they're entertaining. It doesn't make any sense to start the movie in the middle of the story and you don't explain any character ever. No character has a backstory. They're just like things in the, I don't know. Anyways, so I appreciate all of these, like Rogue One having, it's like the backstory. You like kind of get to build on it now and actually connect to the characters at this point. Like it's the same with like the Mandalorian. I like the Mandalorian because then you get to see all of these backstories of other creatures that were just creatures. And then like Boba Fett's out now, so we watch Boba Fett and that one's really cool. I liked Han Solo because you get to see like the start of Chewie and Han being friends.
That was great.
I thought that was cool. So yeah, I feel like the original ones from the 70s I just can't get into. And then I tried to watch the ones that came out in like the early 2000s.
Oh, those were trash.
It's just not enjoyable at all. At all. The little boy is like probably the worst actor I've ever seen in my life. Like I can't think of a worse one off the top of my head.
Did you ever see the original Pet Sematary from the 80s?
Yes.
Those kids were pretty bad actors.
Yeah, I guess it would be on
daughter.
that.
We watched that recently, and oh god, that daughter was horrible. Like that was somebody's kid. Like that was the director's grandkid or something.
I remember watching that as a kid and being so terrified. And then I watched it later on as an adult and I was like, this is almost hilarious. Like The Exorcist, right? Like as a kid, The Exorcist was so scary. And now I watch it and I'm like, this is a comedy, clearly.
Well, I remember Pet Sematary. What terrified me was I think it was Zelda with like the
crickety back. Yeah, that was gross.
Took the shit out of me. We watched that and Maya's like, meh, whatever.
But yeah. Okay, I'll let you go. We get to sit here and talk about movies all day. But I'll stop the recording, but it won't end the whole Zoom thing. I think you know how Zoom works. I won't explain it to you. But okay. Thank you for being on the show. Oh, I like to ask people, is there anything you want to share with the universe before we hang up? Anything about jobs, college, Indian food? I don't know.
If you're a software developer, hit me up. I'm hiring.
There you go.
I can't get anybody to work.
The work shortage is real. All right. Thanks for being on the show, Cameron. Bye.